Hey everyone, good to see you. Today we're talking about something serious. Federal agencies in the US are now officially on heightened alert. Not because something happened, but because of what could happen. And the truth is, it might not come in the way most people expect. Right now, the Department of Homeland Security has issued a bulletin saying the country is in what they call a heightened threat environment. The FBI, CISA, and other national security agencies are fully engaged too. So while no one agency, like the FBI, has come out with a big formal announcement to the public behind the scenes, they're preparing for the possibility of retaliation, and not in a vague way. This is based on history. It's based on patterns, and it's something we all should be aware of. Before we go any further, let me ask, how safe do you feel lately? Like, do you think about national security much, or is it something that just sort of fades into the background unless there's a major headline? Let me know in the comments. I think hearing each other's perspectives on this kind of stuff really helps ground the conversation. And hey, if you find value in calm, thoughtful content that helps make sense of the world, especially complicated topics like this, I'd love if you subscribed. We're building a community that cares about being informed without being overwhelmed. So, what exactly is going on? Well, recently, President Trump authorized airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Not long after, a ceasefire was brokered between Iran and Israel. Sounds like a win, right? Maybe even a de-escalation. But here's where it gets tricky. National security officials say the ceasefire doesn't really mean things are settling down. In fact, that quiet might actually be the most concerning part. Because Iran has a history of waiting. They don't always respond right away. They study the landscape. They test defenses. And then they strike when they think we're distracted. That's not just theory. That's what happened last time. Back in 2020, after the US killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, there were missile strikes on US bases. Yeah, but then over the next 2 years, there were assassination plots against former American officials. Iranian intelligence allegedly recruited criminals right here in the US to try to carry out those plans. Some are caught, some almost weren't. That's why, even though we're not hearing about explosions or breaking news alerts right now, national security teams are in motion. They're watching power grids, airports, synagogues, data centers, even water plants. They're not just protecting buildings, they're protecting systems. The soft spots. And the FBI? They're in it. No, they haven't issued a standalone public threat warning, but they are part of the wider effort to stay vigilant. According to internal briefings, they've been working closely with DHS and CISA to keep the country's defenses up. Deputy Director Dan Bongino said the Bureau is fully engaged, which is good, but also a little alarming, right? Because it tells us the concern is very real. And here's where things get even more complex. Since returning to office, President Trump has shifted a lot of focus, especially when it comes to federal resources. A lot of agents who used to work in cybersecurity or counterterrorism have now been reassigned to immigration enforcement. It's part of a broader policy pivot, the idea that border security is national security. And supporters of that approach say, look, 11 Iranians were arrested recently after the airstrikes, some allegedly with ties to Iran's Revolutionary Guard or Hezbollah. So maybe this strategy is working, but critics and even people inside those agencies are raising serious concerns. They're saying we're stretched thin. We're losing the people who actually know how to track and stop these threats before they happen. One agent even said, it'll only take one crisis to really stress the system. And from the sound of it, that crisis might already be brewing. Take CISA, for example, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. These are the folks who protect critical infrastructure from foreign attacks. Back in 2020, they helped secure the presidential election. They were trusted, experienced, and effective. But since January, their budget's been cut. Over 100 cybersecurity contracts have been canceled. More than 1,000 jobs might be gone in next year's budget. That's not just paperwork. That's real people who knew how to keep our systems safe walking out the door. And yeah, some FBI agents are being moved back to support them now that threats from Iran are rising. But it's hard to replace that kind of expertise overnight. One cybersecurity expert put it like this: you haven't just lost employees, You've lost institutional memory. That means when something weird shows up on a server or a foreign signal pings our grid, the people who would have caught it right away, they might not be in the room anymore. And it doesn't stop there. At the Department of Homeland Security, the office that used to handle threats like chemical, biological, or radiological attacks, it's been dismantled. The smaller teams that focused on preventing domestic terrorism at the community level, canceled. In some cases, they were disbanded because they've been tracking right-wing extremist groups, something the administration reportedly didn't want to prioritize. Even the fusion centers, those local intelligence sharing hubs between federal, state, and local agencies, are struggling. One director said the federal partners they used to rely on just aren't there anymore. So yeah, the structure is still standing, but the connections inside are weaker than they used to be. Which brings up a really important question. Can we do everything at once? Can we secure borders, dismantle cartels, stop cyberattacks, prevent terrorism, and manage critical infrastructure, all with limited resources and fewer experts? Some say yes. Others say it's a dangerous trade-off, because Iran isn't going to send troops in across the southern border. They're going to use malware. They're going to try to crash a power grid, or poison a water supply, or target an individual with a digitally masked attack. These aren't Hollywood scenarios. They're real strategies, already attempted, sometimes foiled, sometimes not. And those attacks aren't stopped by building more walls or conducting immigration sweeps. They're stopped with intelligence, with cyber defense, with collaboration, and with experience. And if those systems have been weakened, then the door might already be cracked open. Now, I want to be really clear here. None of this is to scare you. There is no confirmed, specific threat right now. But that's the thing. The people monitoring this stuff, they're not looking for what's already in the headlines. They're looking for what's happening in the shadows. And the silence? It's what has them worried. Iran will remember. It waits, and it tests. So the people in charge of defense, they're watching. They're trying. But whether the entire system is ready, well, that's the question. So what does this mean for us? It means being aware and being informed. Knowing that national security isn't just a military thing or a political issue. It's something that affects all of us. It's the infrastructure we count on, the safety we assume, and the readiness we often take for granted. So let's keep this conversation going. How do you feel about the balance between border security and cyber defense? Do you think we're putting our resources in the right places? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your perspective. And if you found this helpful, or even just thought-provoking, go ahead and subscribe. This channel is about staying informed without feeling overwhelmed, and I'm really glad you're part of it. All right, stay safe out there, stay thoughtful, and I'll see you in the next one.